Today, I wanted to talk a little bit about the constant battle between trying to lock in and conserve things so that way you can make it to some future that you're trying to build towards, versus taking part in and appreciating the everyday moments, the things that you have in front of you right now. That's something that I find myself struggling with a lot, for sure. Growing up, I was definitely a pretty impulsive kid, but I also felt like I had a lot of potential as well. So as time went on, I started trying to lock in more and more and be more careful, do more things to, that are cautious, so that way I can, make it to whatever this potential is building up towards eventually. And something that I've noticed with a lot of that also is sometimes I can honestly be really damn unappreciative of the things, the people I have in my life too, I'll be so locked in on these things that I need to do, on these grand ideas of things that I want to accomplish, and things that I'm meant to be in some sort of way, and I can be kind of neglectful of what I also already have right now. This is also, I guess, maybe partially coming up to do with the fact I'm moving soon, I'm going. And a lot of people have really tried to be my friend, even whenever I wasn't always open as much to that, of letting people in as much as maybe I should have. I don't know. Because it is scary letting people in, and it's easy to be worried that, someone isn't going to really like who I am, which it sounds also like a lot of BS whenever you actually say it out loud, but these are, I guess, kind of like subconscious things that don't get brought into full-fledged out thought until later sometimes, but it's a hard balance, because, a lot of society, is definitely like kind of these mottos of, don't just live recklessly now, save up for this future, so that way whenever you get there you won't regret having wasted a bunch of time doing things that don't matter or whatever, right? But then there's also the flip side of that tomorrow's never promised, and you can also try so hard to save up for a future that never actually arrives. You know that? And at the end of that, would you have wished that you had spent more time with the people who loved you and cared about you? Spent less time planning and scheming and, doing all this shit for systems that really don't serve you, but obviously, the things I'm trying to do aren't just serving those systems, I would say. But a large part of it requires going through those systems, whether I like them or not. And it's just, sometimes it's also a bit of a balance of, am I living for myself or not? There's everybody has these ideals of things that they can try and pursue, things that are virtuous things to do versus just reactive and simple, and undisciplined. But I don't know, in a lot of ways, we as creatures, we're also kind of meant for a little bit of the unrefined and just in the moment, It's easy to get kind of swept up in that. I guess, I don't know, a little early on to be given a message or call to action, but really, try to appreciate the people in your life, even if they're not perfect, if there are things that, could be better about them in some way that you would be, you'd wish for them to be a better person on, as much as you also probably wish for yourself to be a better person on, right? Or the fear that you have that you won't be all the way good enough, try not to overthink it so much. Try to just appreciate people for caring at all, even if they may not fully get it, even if there are things that both of y'all could grow on and maybe you're kind of different on, even if, you know, there are things that y'all will just always be different on. It's not even a matter of growth. Like, y'all just see differently, and you're not ever going to agree on that point, you know? Because really, I don't know, a large part of just life is also just that outside of the abstract things that you might accomplish on some grand scale or whatever, you are also the only person living your life too. There is a uniqueness in that. You are the only one who will have those particular types of relationships you do with certain people, you know, like, not, you know, everyone has different relationships all around, you know, but really, like, your lived experience, the things you are going through, that story is something that is only your own. And, you know, one of the things I also try and remember is, at the end of the day, my life isn't the things that I thought about, but it's the things that I actually did. In a lot of ways, you know. Like, looking back at it, the things that I will be remembered for are probably not going to be my ideas. Maybe some of them, if they ever, you know, gain some popularity or people know about them, whatever. I mean, I'm sure, you know, one of the actions I will be remembered for is that I put a lot of effort on being insightful, you know. But I also want to be someone who actually shows up too, and someone who has people around me. I don't want to be someone who just shuts myself away, like I've had a tendency to do throughout a lot of my life. I've been hurt in a lot of ways too, by a lot of people, and that makes it hard too. It's probably at least a partially traumagenic thing. That's probably the wrong word. It's just traumatic. Me trying to use bigger words than I need to. Just, yeah. A lot of life is getting kicked down in a lot of ways, and trying to muster the courage to get back up again, even though you are seeing such a similar pattern of something that might kick you down again. And I don't know. I mean, some things, it's easy to kind of have the mentality of, if you're getting kicked down so much, you might as well stay down, you know? I don't know. It's hard to really make a prescription about what someone should do in such an abstract sense, because honestly, I think it does kind of depend. But everyone's hurt, everyone's wounded. We only have so much time to live, and, you know, I think you can't help but try to live for yourself a little bit. I think one of the ways we also try to, like, avoid the things that bring us shame and insecurity and, you know, just feelings of weakness, we try and kind of almost accept out the get-go that it was out of our control, that there's nothing we can do about it, and that we're always destined to have these same things play out the same way. Because in a way, it takes some of the exhaustion out of it. You don't have to try if you already accept that it's impossible, you know? And it means that there's, you know, it takes some of the burden away from being someone who needs to keep trying at all. You can just let go. And, yeah. I think a lot of times, though, we might have more control than we let ourselves believe. And a lot of, honestly, probably beautiful things can come out of that if we allow ourselves to try again, if we can find it within ourselves. And this isn't, you know, to me, a thing about trying to put some sort of relativism on, like, you know, who did better. At the end of the day, I mean, we're all just people kind of bound by the people we are in a lot of ways. And whether we figure out what we want to do or not is kind of a bit about our environment. That's why, you know, maybe that's kind of why I try to look for the insight, I guess, and things, and be able to speak on it, because, I don't know, maybe that's part of the environment I can shape a little bit. Part of me believes that one of the things worth striving for in this world, outside of some grander plan, is also just, like, being part of the thing that lets people see that there's another way to try again, and maybe it's not. I don't know. No one really knows the answer to anything objectively. But I don't know. Story's worth telling, I guess.